Greetings, Terry Tyler. I want to talk to you real quick about some bad things that can happen to you as a young adult that you really need to be aware of. I want to peep you up on some game because the time is short and you're not going to have a lot. And it's one of these things where I could speak a litany of bullshit about things that probably aren't going to improve your life. But first things first, avoid the sex shit. I know it's nice to use a porta-john or a potty mouth. You know, I'm a dirty dog. I'm a filthy dog. But, you just start doing that enough and it starts to wear you out. Another one is your beers, you know, drinking and drugging. And I'm not going to say that drinking and drugging is not bad. But if it's time to quit and it's fucking you up and it's fucking your family up and doing these things, it's proof that you're not ready for that drug and you're not just not doing it right. You're putting the drug before your family. You're putting the drug or the alcohol before your priorities, and it's causing you to go into a downward, a negative type spiral. And another thing is religion. And I'll say, keep your religion. I told people don't throw away the Bibles. They look at me with the Satan Bible and all that stuff. And there's, I read the Satan Bible, read we got to make sure every word for word, letter for letter. In the Bible it says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And I've got the whole book of Proverbs I actually read for you. You can go down there and you can check it out. So go ahead and click subscribe. And I've also read in some of the Mormon Bible as the Dhammapada. So I'm not stoning people's religion, but religion is very important. And even the atheist, the agnostic that doesn't necessarily believe in a God or anything like that is, they can practice what, as I'm thinking, spiritual enlightenment. Try to look at the positives, the polarities, because I'm a science man, I'm an engineering man, I'm a weatherman. I've been doing weather officially now over half of my life. I've devoted half of my life to the weather. And now, not since I got married to the weather, married to the weather at Union Station, but, when I really got into it, got my first computer and got my hands at National Weather Service, KGWX radar. I went to WTVA, met, it was Matthew East at the time. And he showed me, he said it was one of his crowning achievements at Mississippi State, the Bulldogs. He called in a report on a tornado that didn't have a warning on it. He caught the tornado. And that was one of his golden moments. And I never would have thought, it was 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. A little freshman in damn high school. And scared to death. Secondhand clothes. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Clothes are clothes, But, I actually got to live that moment. And I trained and I trained and I trained, and I got to actually see a storm. And I called it. I didn't necessarily call in. I called in afterward. I hit the road and went after it. And it was there. It was there. No smoke. It was there. The warning wasn't there. But the damn tornado was there. And it was awesome. And I got to experience that moment, and it was really important to me. And I want to encourage all y'all. This is one of those things: is chase your dreams. Chase your dreams and go far and go forward. Um, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. Listen to a guy, Grant Cardone. He says what happens in Vegas don't stay in Vegas, pretty much. And I hate to tell you, back in the day, I used to do a little bit of porn, and I ran a talk show, and I said a lot of things I regret. I thought it was a comedy skit, and I thought I was entertaining. You just kind of become a what do they call that? A Holly horror or some shit. You just wind up, trying to be everybody's something. You're kind of extroverted. You're not introverted. And some of you may not know what introversion and extroversion means, and that's okay, because I offer coaching sessions, man. I can coach you through this. I've had to steady us and fight my illness. I'm a clinical psychopath, and unfortunately, a lot of people just tell me they're scared of me. And I've isolated a lot of people, and they're scared of me. I mean, it gets to the point where I don't blame them. They got guns drawn. They're like, hey, what do you stand for, son? What's your end game? And when you go to court long enough, or even daughter, what's your daughter? What are you, what is it? What are you worshiping? So to speak. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, what can you do for your community? How can you help out the people? Or better yet, this is my big thing. Just don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. I mean, if it's that hard to do, don't beat mailboxes with baseball bats. Don't drive drunk. Don't shoot into an occupied dwelling. Don't get into a high-speed chase with the cops. If you can avoid some of those things, you're going to have a much better time. And I've spent 6 years in the eyes of hurricanes, in the fiercest storms, all 3 tornadoes, starting at the 5808, right there through Tupelo, Mississippi, that at one time was the biggest death count in the history of the United States. We held the crown. Tupelo, Mississippi held the crown for most deaths in a tornado for a long time. And that was with, unfortunately, not to dig up old bones, but we have our own countrymen here not even a century ago, and they didn't count the blacks. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm like, hey, man, we could check it out. I thought about going down there and doing something special. And I called the Orrin Dunn Museum. I got an answer. They said they'd call back in a week. Didn't get a call. Didn't get an answering machine. Like I said, all I get is crank calls. And it's to the point where I've had to adjust my business strategy. And I've adjusted my business strategy, and it's like, it's really harsh on the entrepreneur. It's really harsh on the small business, but I try to keep the dream. We got Trump in office. I believe in Trump. A lot of guys are hard on him. He got a bad hand. I mean, like he says, you got to look into him. I got 8 hours of Trump. Check it out in the 8 hours to change your life. I put those videos in there for you to give you sort of a not an indoctrination, but sort of a little bit of a kickstart. Back in the days when I was hustling and I was peddling my product, uh, you know, I listened to a lot of music and I listened to a lot of tapes. And I started, digging up on some of that stuff. And man, I tried to do a pretty good job. And I finally made it. I mean, I'm not ate it, but like I said, I'm not as big as, say, Kim Kardashian, but I'm not as small as somebody who just started. It took 6 years. Actually, it'll be October, be the official 6th year. I'm working on 6 years, but literally like next month, it'll be the 6th of working on 7 years that it took. And I'm a data head. I'm a big data guy. I'm into analytics. I'm into that type of stuff. It's my mojo. And I've dealt with some people. I'm not going to talk about beef on here because this is up lightning, but that leads me to another thing you need to watch out for. Watch out for your cybersecurity. As you go out there, I don't know who you are, and I'm not gonna spoil you because it's not for me to reveal that shit for you. It's for you to find out. You might not get anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, you're gonna start running into gatekeepers and goal blockers and people that might try to step on you and hold you down. And you're going to be in some really tight scenarios. You're going to have to deal with situations that you might not particularly want to be in. And you might be facing someone that is, or some object that is a lot more formidable than you. And, length or, money or, vehicle or, mass or, any variable pretty much per se. You got some madman. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, hey, you're going to have to really just kind of, take your shirt off. Take the shirt off of your world. Just say, man, I mean, it's a drag about the ladies, and I'm sorry, they get on to them. Don't forget to check out the Nudist Society, man. The Nudist Society. MississippiNudistSociety.com. It's one I built for the people. And people, this is what I told you, the cybersecurity. People start coming to jack you or fuck you or beat you up. And the next thing you know, they're putting a price on your head. And you try to create something that, it's a surprise. It's something decent, but it's leverage. They're like, man, we think you're extorting us, or we think you're holding out. And I'm like, hey, dude, this is a business deal. I mean,